Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. When we do wrong, we should expect to face punishment, and we should accept that punishment as just. Yes, it may not be fun to receive, but if we take it well, we will grow from it, and we will learn not to commit the wrong again so that we don't have to be punished in this way again. The same would be true for the punishment that does come from God. However, we know that injustice exists. People are punished who are innocent. People suffer who have done no wrong themselves. We must accept that punishment patiently as well. But we should not view it as chastening from the Lord, because it was not from Him. In those cases, we should pray to the Lord that He avenge the righteous and punish the wicked. In Job chapters 4 through 5, Eliphaz concludes that Job is suffering because of his sin, because his theology revolves around the notion that all suffering occurs because one is a sinner. This is mistaken theology, but it is his theology nonetheless, and will lead into his final admonition to Job here in Job 5. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to the book of Job, to Job chapter 5. We're going to be reading from verses 17 to 27. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Job chapter 5, beginning at verse 17. Behold, happy is the man whom the Lord corrects. Therefore do not despise the chastening of the Almighty. For he bruises, but he binds up. He wounds, but his hands make whole. He shall deliver you in 6 troubles, yes, in 7 no evil shall touch you. In famine he shall redeem you from death, and in war from the power of the sword. You shall be hidden from the scourge of the tongue, and you shall not be afraid of destruction when it comes. You shall laugh at destruction and famine, and you shall not be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For you shall have a covenant with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. You shall know that your tent is in peace. You shall visit your dwelling and find nothing amiss. You shall also know that your descendants shall be many, and your offspring like the grass of the earth. You shall come to the grave at a full age, as a sheaf of grain ripens in its season. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Hear it, and know for yourself. As we said at the top, because Job is suffering, Eliphaz concludes that Job must be a sinner. Why? Because God punishes sinners, and when has God ever punished the righteous? God does not punish the righteous, but Satan can afflict the righteous or tempt man to afflict the righteous. His goal is to get us to curse God, something that Eliphaz doesn't even consider. Having a bad theology can lead to wrong solutions, even though points of them might be true. Eliphaz tells Job to not despise the chastening of the Lord, because happy is the man whom the Lord corrects. This language here denotes a change, even a minor one, in Eliphaz's instructions. Up to this point, suffering has been seen as punitive, what someone deserves because of their sin. Here, though, in verse 17 on down, Eliphaz doesn't change his view on the cause of suffering, but he does see that there is a benefit to it, which is to bring someone back to the Lord. In other words, one can take suffering one of 2 ways. They can remain wicked and continue suffering, or they can admit their sins, turn back to the Lord, and the Lord will remove their suffering, and their suffering would have thus been to their benefit. The latter is what Eliphaz wants Job to do. You see, Eliphaz wasn't denying that Job had acted righteously in the past. He saw Job's blessings as evidence of that. He was just denying Job's righteousness in the present due to Job's suffering. If only Job admitted his sin and turned back to the Lord would do what only the Lord is able to do, remove his suffering completely. For after all, the Lord can deliver the righteous from all sorts of problems, from famine, from war, from an evil tongue, from destruction, from beasts, from anything at all, if it is the Lord's will. And you know what? Eliphaz is right. The Lord is able to do all those things. The Lord saved David from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear. The Lord was with Joseph in prison. The Lord opened the womb of Hannah. But the Lord also allowed Joseph to be in prison, even though he did not sin. He allowed David to have to flee from Saul, even though he did not sin. And he allowed Hannah's womb to be closed, even though she did not sin. You see, again, what is wrong with Eliphaz's theology is that he views blessings as God's proclaiming someone righteous and suffering as God proclaiming someone wicked. Yes, God does chasten the righteous. Hebrews 12 is going to quote this passage in Job to teach Christians that. But not all suffering is chastening from the Lord, just as not all blessings is proof that the Lord is with us. There are truths in Eliphaz's theology, but it is the errors that lead to the wrong conclusion that Job is suffering because of sin. In the end, Eliphaz says that he knows what he says is true, and that if Job returns to the Lord will remove his suffering, he would have many more children, his wealth would be returned, and he would die at a good old age. Eliphaz was not speaking prophetically here, and even though we know from the end of Job that that is what happened, that was not guaranteed to happen. For again, the righteous can suffer, and when they do, are not promised that everything on this earth will be returned to them if that suffering ends. Their hope is in heaven, and it is safe, but suffering can happen in this life without a return to complete happiness. This is the end of Eliphaz's speech. What will Job's response be? We'll find that out, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Job chapter 6, verses 1 to 13, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.